Hey, welcome to Playing for Keeps, the show where we take a deep dive into emotional intelligence, sex, love, adult attachment theory, mental health, therapy, and everything in between that creates great relationships. Your host, DJ, is a certified life coach and emotional intelligence practitioner. She's here to be of service to all the listeners interested in love and relationship. Now, here's your host, DJ.
Hey everybody, it's your girl DJ with Playing for Keeps podcast. And for the month of February, we are going to have an astrologer come on and go over all of the zodiac elements, all of the signs, who they're compatible to and who they're not compatible to. So today we have a special guest. Lori is an astrologer, coach, and Star Wars fanatic who followed her heart to travel overseas to be with her Italian partner, launch her astrology business, and eat some of the best pasta in the world. Although she has been doing astrology since 1994, she decided to go pro after a career of helping people as a psychotherapist. Hey, Lori, how are you today?
Hi, I'm well, thank you. Glad to be here.
Awesome. We are glad to have you. So before we get started on all of that, why don't you tell us a little bit just about your journey and how you got into astrology?
Well, I got into astrology a long time ago because, I'd always been interested in it, even as a child. And I grew up in kind of more of a conservative household, and I wasn't around any astrologers. So I'm sure if I was, I would have been doing astrology at 10. But I had to kind of move away from home and get to the big city. And it started in Chicago, and I had graduated from college. And my situation was I had to work. So I had to work my way through college. And I was working full time, and I was going to school full time. I'm sure a lot of your listeners can relate to that. And so when I graduated, I was like, oh, I have all this time now, and I wanted to stay disciplined, with studying. So I was like, what do I want to study? And I said, astrology, of course. And so I started studying astrology and tarot and pretty much everything metaphysical I could get my hands on. And I didn't go pro for quite a while, but always stayed with astrology. And my coworkers got to know me as, the person who let them know when Mercury was going retrograde. And it was kind of always there, but I finally decided that that's what I want to do. And like I said, I did get my license. I was a psychotherapist, or still am. I'm still licensed to do that. But after helping people for a really long time in that capacity, I wanted to switch over and do more coaching and astrology-based work. So here I am.
That is amazing. Okay, so today we are going to speak on all of the air sign elements, who they're compatible to, and all of just the great stuff Lori can supply us with information with. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you take it away. I don't know which one you want to start with. Right now we're in Aquarius, so I'm gonna let you go ahead and start.
Okay. Well, Aquarius is the sign of the year, in case you haven't heard.
I have.
And I say that because of where the planets are. So when we talk about signs, so in this case Aquarius, the planets have to move through that sign in order for that sign to become activated. So when you say I'm an Aquarius, or I'm a Libra, or a Gemini, the three air signs, that means that the sun, the location of the sun at the time you were born, was in that part of the sky. But so were all the other planets, which we're not talking about them today. So I'm going to hold myself back from going off on tangents, which I love to do. But Aquarius, so back to Aquarius, the reason why Aquarius is the sign of the year is because so many planets are going to be hanging out together in Aquarius, where last year a lot of planets were hanging out together in Capricorn, and it was a pretty heavy year. Yeah. I think people were really happy to say goodbye to 2020.
Yes.
But that's kind of when Aquarius, the movement of the planets started. So Jupiter and Saturn both moved into Aquarius, and that was the big deal. Jupiter stays in a sign for 1 year, and Saturn stays in a sign for around 2.5 years. So both of those planets will be in Aquarius in 2021. Jupiter will jump out for a little while because he'll move into Pisces, but then he'll retrograde back. So
Gotcha.
Jupiter won't actually be in Aquarius the whole time in 2021, but most of the time in 2021. Right now we have the Sun in Aquarius, we have Mercury in Aquarius, Venus is in Capricorn, but it will be coming to Aquarius. So yeah, we're just going to have a whole bunch of Aquarius planets coming up in February. So that kind of like highlights Aquarius for the year. And so I think it's appropriate to start with that air sign.
Okay.
I know we're going to go through all of the signs, so don't worry if you're not Aquarius. We're still going to talk about your sign. And everybody has Aquarius somewhere in their chart. Everybody has every sign somewhere in their chart. I do always like to mention that, because if you don't follow astrology, you don't study it, or you don't know anything about it, it's easy to think that if you're a Libra or a Gemini, that's it. And it's really not. There's a circle. That's your horoscope. Your chart is really the circle divided up into 12 pieces, and each of those pieces have the sign is a sign, and it's a little more complicated than that. So I won't take up time explaining that. But somewhere in your chart, you have each one of the energy of each of these signs. And when a planet goes through that sign, it's kind of like activating that. And that's where your chart gets super individualized. So do keep in mind that anything that I'm going to say about a sign is purely about that sign. And it doesn't mean that it's going to manifest in your life exactly that way, because you always have to synthesize your whole chart. So we're going to be talking about sun signs, and the sun is one of the most important parts of your chart, but it's not the only part. So if I say something, it's probably going to resonate, because astrology usually does.
It does.
Yeah,
people can't deny that. Even the people who don't believe in it can't deny that. But like you were just saying with the chart, there's your Venus sign, which is I believe that relates to your love sign, correct? And then there's your moon sign. It's not your shadow side. What would you refer that to? Like my sun sign is Sagittarius, but then my moon sign is Scorpio. So I have a very complex personality. And then my Venus is a Capricorn. So, and all of that, all of those signs resonates with my personality and makes it kind of weird and complex. So I'm not like the average Sagittarius sun sign that you would read the sun sign. I have those traits, but then I have other traits about me because of that. So just for anybody who's listening, it's kind of like, what's a chart? And it includes those things.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I think it's important to keep that in mind. And if you hear something and it's like, well, that's not me. It's like, well, you have many facets of personality, and astrology has to have those facets as well, because it's a reflection of our lives. And then to answer your question, the moon, I guess if there's one keyword to use, you could say your emotions. It is more than, but that would probably be like the best one to remember, or to start tuning into your moon. It's your emotions.
I don't know if I called it my shadow side because I don't like showing emotion. Maybe that's why, but that's a good way to remember it too, actually, because I couldn't think of a good word to like signify what is the moon sign meaning. But okay, go ahead, continue. I'm sorry, I just wanted to put that in there just in case people were wondering like what are like small details of like a birth chart. So
yeah, that would be a really fun different podcast, but to talk about the blending of like a sun sign and a moon sign, because that really broadens the scope of astrology describing a personality. And, of course, an astrologer is going to talk about all the planets and the signs and the relationships. But yeah, just entering it, your sun sign and your moon sign and your rising sign or your ascendant sign, those three things together are arguably the most important parts of the chart. I think any astrologer who's going to do a chart, they're going to start there. And then, however the chart speaks, because charts have different signatures, then we go on from there. Okay, so Aquarians. Let's talk about Aquarians. We've said already it's an air sign. It's a fixed sign as well. So there's I know elements is the focus of our podcast today. But there's a second kind of descriptive thing that we use for the signs, and it's called the modality. And so it can be fixed, or it can be changeable, or it can be more like dynamic and action oriented. And so the Aquarius is one of the fixed signs. So that means that it's not just air and communication, but it's very status quo oriented, or very good at maintaining things and keeping things going. So you have, one end, which is the starters, and then the other people who are super adaptable and changeable, and then you have Aquarians, part of the group, who is really, really good at like kind of keeping things in place. That's why Aquarians are known for their kind of social reform is a key word that you often hear with Aquarians.
Okay.
That they, because their air sign is always going to have a social and a communication component to it. And then you add in the fixed layer, and so they're about making change, but change that's going to stick, or not making change, keeping things the same, because it makes sense. I mean, they're air signs, so they're about logic and intelligence. But Aquarians, when we talk about them, we usually look more to the transformative, the social change and the humanitarian work. And they love to communicate. Aquarians tend to be more focused on change that affects big groups of people. Very individualistic. They need their independence. They're not a fire sign, so they're not going to, throw their tantrum and like, no, it's going to be my way or the highway. But they might just walk away.
Yeah. My brother's birthday is today, and you're describing him to a T. So.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, they can be very aloof because they're kind of in their mental world about whatever cause it is that is driving them to do what it is that they do, and they need to be able to follow that. They're not going to do well with being held down to something that they don't believe in. If they don't believe in it, they're going to take action, but they're going to do it in a mental way, a thoughtful way. They're going to use their words and their communication. So yeah. They're nonconformists. They're very unique. Sometimes it's said that their ideas are ahead of their time. And they can be scientific, or technology is often associated with Aquarians, and really I don't think it's so much technology, it's just that technology is new and innovative, and at some point technology is not going to be all that new and innovative anymore, but Aquarians are still going to be innovating new things. So whatever is next, you're going to see Aquarians involved in that.
Right.
Oftentimes hear that they're involved with science and math and things that are just breaking through to something new.
Right. They're very analytical and I want to say metaphorical, especially my brother and others that I know. Those are definitely two words I can say about them that sticks out to me when it comes to Aquarius. So like I said, everything you're saying to me hits it on the nail with them.
Yeah. And they're objective and rational, and it's the water bearer. So like what do you call it? The thing that, like Libra's the scales and Gemini's the twins. And so it's the water bearer, and it confuses people a lot. I hear all the time, oh, but Aquarius is a water sign. It's like, no, it's not. It's the water bearer. And the water bearer is the person who carries the water in a container. And it's the representation is the Aquarius who can carry the thoughts or the feelings, the emotions. Water is emotion, is feelings.
Yeah.
So Aquarius can carry that water, that emotion of a large group of people, but it carries it. It's separate. It's outside of the water bearer. You see them. They usually have a container. You see like the water is coming from above and going down. down below, like from the heaven to the earth. And that's like what an Aquarian can do. They can carry the emotions and the feelings of a group of people, but they can stay objective. So they don't get super emotional. Everybody has emotions. So I'm not saying they don't have emotions, but they don't get emotional.
They piss a lot of people off because they don't get as emotional as the other person. Like they do. Like when they're in an argument, like you said, they're very analytical and they don't feel the need to be over emotional, and they do tend to piss people off because they're not over emotional with their emotions. And you can, from my past experiences, you can actually turn them off when you're too much romantically anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you want to date an Aquarius, or you are an Aquarius, you want to know that that this person can seem aloof and emotionally cool, as in cold. But that doesn't mean that they are. That's their expression. And granted, some are. I mean, that kind of person exists in this world. We know that it does, or we wouldn't even have the words for it. So, that person could have Aquarius, have the planet in Aquarius and not even be the sun. So, if you're like, oh my gosh, that sounds like, somebody but they're not an Aquarius. There's Aquarian energy in everyone's chart somewhere. Like a Venus in Aquarius, and that is your relationship planet, then you could be dealing with someone that seems
aloof.
Right. Okay, so Aquarius is the air sign, and then we'll start with Aries, which is a fire sign. So they're pretty compatible. They're both dynamic. I like to look at the air sign and then the modality, which we talked about before, which is, like the fixed or changeable, or which is called mutable. And then the cardinal, which is kind of a weird sign, a weird word for it, but it's like the dynamic take action. So there's 3 different modes, 4 different elements, and then there's 2 different polarities. So half of the zodiac is more passive and half of the zodiac is more reactive. So I want to talk about those 3 things when I look at the signs. So if we look at Aries is a fire sign. So fire and air go really well together, right? They're pretty dynamic. They're both like the active polarity. And then where they differ is that Aquarius is fixed and Aries is like charge forward.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, let's go. So they have quite a lot in common. And where they're both dynamic, where it's like air and fire. So you could just, the air comes in and blows the fire. And so there could be a lot of passion and a lot of dynamic energy. But where they differ is that one is fixed. So Aquarius is kind of like more about staying the course, and Aries is more like, let's not.
Right.
But that can be quite exciting. So I think that these 2 signs can go really well together. I wrote down, when our intentions are synced, nothing can stop us. So, you have like Aquarius with great innovative ability and intellect and like can think things through, where Aries is not going to think things through. They're just going to go. So, together, one is like, okay, wait a minute, but did you think about this? And the other one's like, we got to go now. When Aquarius is like, no, we should. So, they can kind of like
balance each other out. Yeah.
Because they have so much in common, and we need a little bit of difference to spice it up. So
agreed.
Sometimes too much difference or too much sameness, it's
it can be
yeah. Okay, so then the next one is Taurus. So Aquarius and Taurus. Taurus is an earth sign, and Taurus is a receptive sign. And so you start to see where they're not so compatible. They have some differences. So what I wrote was, it's important, and then Taurus is like, yeah, but so is dinner.
That's That's how they are.
Yeah, Taurus is about like comfort and security and indulgence in the wonderful things of, like good food and good wine and like just the things that feel good. And Aquarius is not so interested in those things.
Yeah.
We're interested in intellectual conversation. And so, a Taurus could probably have an intellectual conversation. They just may not care about having. And I want to be really careful about saying that, because I don't want Taurus to think that I'm saying that's
because it's not. It's not at all, because a lot of them are brilliant. It's just like you just said, the things that they prefer are basically the good, like, I guess the good materialistic things in life, versus like an Aquarian, they're about, like, they're big on, it depends on what they're big on, but they are big on like change, and they're very analytical, and that's their main focus. So their focuses are just totally different. That's all.
Yeah. And I think that active passive thing could be part of where that problem can stem from, is that one really wants to go and start. Wait a minute. No, sorry. That's not right. Aquarius is fixed. So I'm saying the opposite thing. Where Aquarius is fixed and Taurus is earth, that's where they actually agree. That's where they can kind of like, oh yeah, this will work. Let's kind of keep the status quo and keep things going. But when Aquarius is motivated to go out and make that social change,
that's where the problem would probably come.
Yeah, and the Taurus is like, no, I just want to kind of status quo it right here. I'm good. Like, I'm making spaghetti. Let's just have dinner and, have a nice conversation. But Aquarius wants to take it and actually do something about it. It's more than conversation. They want action. So, any combination of signs can work together. It's just some may have a little bit more that they have to work through than others. And then, of course, it's going to depend on the other parts of the chart. But these two are probably less compatible than Aquarius with another air sign, or Aquarius with another active sign, which we're going to get to.
Okay.
So the next one is Gemini. Now, Gemini is an air sign. So this is the first of the air to air. And so these two together, you'll be lucky to get a word in. Gemini is chatty as chatty can be. All the air signs are known to be all about communication, but Gemini is especially known for being extra chatty. And it's the twins. So there's usually two of them, not just one. It's like, which one of you am I talking to right now? Right? So they're really going to appreciate each other's intellect. There's going to be no shortage of words and ideas and hot air in the room, because there's just so much chit chat going on. This is probably one of the best combinations for Aquarius. And I just see them together like, oh, you're so smart. And the other one going, oh, you're so smart too. And just, tell me more. Or, like, I studied that. Oh, I studied that too. And and I studied this too. Oh yeah, me too. Like, they're just inquisitive, their minds are just all about, more, communicate, socialize, talk. Even though Libra is probably the one that gets social attributed to that sign more than Gemini and Aquarius do, but they're all air signs, so they're all social signs. Okay. I think these two are a good match. Oh, no, we're only doing the gifts. Okay, sorry. I thought I forgot something, but I didn't. I'm going to move next to Cancer. So Cancer for an Aquarius. Cancer is a water sign, and Aquarius is an air sign. So air and water. They're not super compatible, but where can they meet? Aquarius is dynamic, is active. Cancer is passive, and So they're not really meeting on the element, and they're not really meeting on the active passive, and they're not really meeting in the fixed. So I think that without other planets and signs that are really compatible, Aquarius and Cancer are not going to be super compatible. Cancer, being a water sign, is going to be about emotions and sensitivity, and they're very nurturing and kind of protective. They're the crab. They move sideways. They're not super direct. They are an action sign in terms of they're the cardinal. So they're cardinal, but they are passive in their water. So they can probably get along more on that level, which is Cancer being the cardinal take action sign, but Aquarius may just be too aloof for that Cancer. That a Cancer really wants that nurturing. They want to be nurtured. They need that comfort. They need that emotional security. And Aquarians just aren't. That's just not their thing. I mean, they can care. They can have all those deep feelings, but they're not going to express it the way
a Cancer will want them to, right?
Yes, yeah. So for the Cancer person dating an Aquarius, they're going to have to give a lot of space around that, and the Aquarius person is going to have to give a lot more emotional expression than they're probably used to. It would work if you had like someone who had both Cancer and Aquarius in their chart, and their partner had both Cancer and Aquarius in their chart, because then they can kind of like get this dichotomy between these two signs.
Right.
Yeah, but otherwise, just looking at Cancer and Aquarius, I'd say that's probably going to be a tough one. Okay. Aquarius Leo. Now these two should work together, and I have seen it work together. I actually have a couple of friends who are a couple, and I have done their charts, because their dynamic is so interesting. I was like, I have to do your chart. They're opposite. So in the zodiac, if you look at the circle, every sign has its opposite sign. Mm-hmm. And so for Aquarius and Leo, they are opposite signs. So they have some serious similarities, but they might not see them. It's more of a projection, because when you're looking at the mirror, so you're like Leo and Aquarius are like looking at the mirror of each other, and what they don't own themselves, they tend to see on the other person. And not just Leos and Aquarians, but I mean, and generally speaking, we know from psychology that's like a thing.
Right.
When you look at it from astrology, it's a thing that you can identify by particular signs. So Aquarius is air and Leo is fire, and so that goes really well together. Air and fire are going to go well together. So any of the combinations that I talk about when it's air and fire, I'm going to say they go well together. And if they agree, like if the Leo can get on board with Aquarius, they're like, whatever is motivating them to do something, that social cause, it can work really well. And if the Aquarius can give the Leo the admiration and recognition that Leos need, it can work really well. If Leo is passionate and driven, and those are fire words, they're usually passionate and driven for something. If that something happens to be what the Aquarius is passionate and driven about, they can really be a couple who are really like doing something together. Right. They're both active. They're both of the active. Neither of them are passive signs. Leo is a fixed sign, and so is Aquarius. So they can get stuck together, but that's not a bad thing. They're both kind of like, nope, let's just stick our heels in the mud, and neither of us is going to move. But at least we're together. Yeah. Did I forget to put active? And then, yeah. So I think it's a really good, it's a mix, but you do have to recognize that the differences you have are usually on the same end, or on the extreme ends of the same stick, whatever that stick is. It's kind of like what is it that's going on? And then if you're taking opposite sides, it's really likely to be a projection. And if the couple can work through that, then they can have a really good relationship.
That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Virgo. So Virgo and Aquarius. I love what I wrote. I wrote the forest, the trees, the forest, the trees, the forest, the trees. I like see that between these two. Aquarius is kind of looking at big picture social stuff, like, you know, they're analyzing things, they're air signs, and then the Virgo is focused on the details, the details, the details, and so they can just get there. It's kind of like they just don't get each other. You know, they're just like,
yeah,
you're coming from a completely different place that I have a really hard time relating to that. Virgo is an earth sign, Aquarius is an air sign. So basically fire and air go really well together, and then earth and water go really well together. And then when you kind of mix them up, it's like there's maybe we can find some common ground. And so for these two, it's kind of hard. Virgo is passive, Aquarius is active, and Virgo is changeable, Aquarius is not. So, you know, Virgo might be able to compromise a little bit more than the Aquarius, but the Aquarius is going to be really stuck on their whatever it is that they are going towards. You know, it's like you're with me or you're not. And the Virgo is kind of like, well, I've got to focus on perfecting things and detail work. And, you know, I mean, I guess it could work if the Virgo was like the campaign manager taking care of all the details, and the Aquarian was like the speaker and the, you know, the person out there like at the front of the protest of the, you know,
or whatever, right? Yeah,
whatever. Yeah. And like I've said before, they have other planets and signs that are compatible. They could certainly make it work. I'm sure that there are Aquarius Virgo couples out there who are making it work. But if we're just talking about these two signs, they're less compatible.
Got you.
Okay. Then we have Libra. So Aquarius and Libra, both air signs. They're going to get along brilliantly. The air signs together are usually going to be the most compatible ones. So this is the second of the three air signs. The first one was Gemini, and this one is Libra. These two are going to really hit it off. They're going to, you know, be exchanging Facebook or phone number, you know, whatever media there is to exchange, like within the first 5 minutes. They're just going to like blah, 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 blah. Air signs, so talkative. So you put an air sign with an air sign, it's just, again, going to be like, can anybody else get a word in? I mean, you get a Gemini in the room, it's like, let them be, or take turns. There's just going to be a lot to talk about. Libra will be really interested in Aquarius, their views, especially their views on society, because Libra is the sign for justice and fairness, and mediation and diplomacy and harmony. And, you know, Libra doesn't like disharmony. They're going to want harmony, but they will also fight to get that, which is why Libra can rule war in love, not just love. And so, you know, with the cause, these two together, you know, you probably see a lot of friends that are Libra, Aquarius, Gemini, like these three social air signs are probably just, I am sure that there's groups. I'm a Libra. I have so many Gemini friends. It's just ridiculous. I meet people and we hit it off and we're getting along great. And they'll be like, you know, what's your sign? Gemini. Of course it's Gemini. Why wouldn't it be? But yeah, so this is a really good pair. Yeah. Moving on to Scorpio. So Scorpio and Aquarius can be at odds, just putting that out there. Scorpio is a very powerful or power-oriented sign, and it's a water sign. It's a fixed sign, and it's a passive sign. So they're not, where they're changeable is more on the emotional realm, because they do tend to be fixed, yes, sorry. They tend to be fixed, kind of like they like to hold on to the status quo and maintain. They're not super active, being the passive sign and a water sign. And, you know, Aquarians, we've talked a lot about already. We know that they're pretty active. They're not passive. They are fixed, so they do have that in common with the Scorpio. So these two, kind of like with the Taurus, they can stick their heels in the mud and hand in hand say, no, we're not budging, not gonna budge.
Right.
But with Scorpio being the water sign and Aquarius being the air sign, they're gonna be kind of at odds. I mean, Scorpio of the three water signs is the emotional part of water. Scorpios aren't so expressive. They like to contain and hold on to that emotion. Scorpios are the ones who don't ever give a tell. If you play cards with them, you're not going to know if they're holding a great hand or not. They really keep things to themselves. They're very protective of their emotions and their feelings. Yeah. And then, but other people's not so much, because they love just peeling back the layers of other people. And they are really good at kind of piercing through to that thing, to kind of get to the thing that's underlying whatever's going on with that other person. And sometimes that's welcome and sometimes that's not welcome. Sometimes people don't want their vulnerabilities to be exposed, which Scorpios are super good at doing that, super good at exposing. And that's when Aquarius might stick their heels in the mud and be like, no, like that, I don't want to be emotional. I don't want you to kind of like try to dig in there and uncover like what's making me fill in the blank.
Right.
Aquarians are going to be like, nope, not interested. And they'll be gone. It's like, boom, just like air, poof. Right. So there's that, I'm trying to find the right word, the challenge between the Scorpio and Aquarius, that it would be hard to keep it together, because I think Aquarians can easily walk away. Scorpios don't easily walk away, but they can push away. Not even meaning to. And so, and Scorpio is going to really need to be understood in order to expose that vulnerable inside. And Aquarius, Aquarian energy alone is probably not going to be emotionally sensitive enough for a Scorpio to feel safe to let that vulnerability out. It would take a lot of compatibility in other parts in the chart for these two to get along. So,
gotcha.
If any listeners are in that pair, Scorpio Aquarius, I know it can happen. I know that it can work. But if we're only looking at these two signs, sun signs, then they're not that compatible. You definitely need some other stuff. Going on to Sagittarius.
Yes. I'm sorry. I'm so biased.
It's a fire sign and an air sign. So we know we have that good dynamic energy going. They're both active signs. And Sagittarius is more changeable and Aquarius is more fixed. So Sag can kind of like work with that. It's like, okay, you're stuck there and you don't want to move, whatever. Like I can hang with that. Sagittarians are the most easygoing sign of the zodiac. And, as long as you don't like try to hold back their freedom and their independence, they're kind of like easygoing and they'll like do whatever, as long as they're doing something. They don't like boredom. That's
a fact. That's a fact.
Yeah. And Aquarians are not boring. Aquarians, they have a lot of mental energy going on. And the Sagittarius can be really exciting for an Aquarius who can be active, but more stuck with their fixed nature. So a Sag can kind of pull them out of that and, like give them reason to get unstuck. Like a Sag is going to, be like, but there's some sort of social injustice going on. We need to do something about it. Of course, like social injustice, I'm in, I'm unstuck. I'm coming, I gotta help. That's a thing for them. They are socially conscious. So yes, that's interesting. What's your plan? That's what Aquarius is gonna, kind of go. So it's a really compatible pair. Going on to Capricorn. So Capricorn is an earth sign. It's going to be more about the practicality of life, about the facts and the details, and a step-by-step structure to how are we going to do this. And let's see, it's a receptive, where Aquarius is active, and it's earth, and it's the other thing is that it's more leadership and dynamic oriented. So there's a couple of areas that that there's common ground you can find with these two signs, especially because Capricorn has this kind of structured step-by-step, this is how we're going to do it way about them. Mm-hmm. And they do have a good sense of control and discipline, which Aquarius will appreciate. The other cool thing is these two signs are both ruled by Saturn. So I use traditional rulerships. I know that some astrologers say Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, and it's a modern ruler. I use Aquarius in my work, but I just don't use the newer outer planets as rulers of the signs. So they really have this in common. This Aquarius Capricorn pair have in common this kind of Saturnian feel of responsibility and of doing things in a disciplined and structured way. So they can definitely find some common ground there. And where Capricorn is going to be more, the polarity being reactive or passive rather than active, that Aquarius can kind of help pull the Capricorn in that way. And then the Capricorn, the grounded earth, you know, earth doesn't usually mix well with the air. It makes mud, but no, not with the air. Sorry, that's water. Yeah, forget what I just said. Anyway, earth and air, you know, they're not you know, earth is going to go better with water, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But there's common ground between Aquarius and Capricorn. So I would just say you would want to have other parts of your chart working well, since there's not, it's not the best match, but there's common areas that can be found.
Got you.
Aquarius. So an Aquarius with an Aquarius. You know, too much of any sign can sometimes just kind of like put imbalance in a couple. I mean, it can definitely work, but when it's the same sign, I think is when you really want to look at some of the other parts of the chart, like maybe the moon signs, to see how that's flavoring the couple. But yeah, if they can join on, like they meet at a cause, they're both into a cause, they're, you know, they have the same social skills, kind of like the same, or not social skills, but the same kind of social interaction. The way that they interact socially would be similar. It's a lot of air, so a lot of emotional aloofness there.
Okay.
You know, which could work really well. You know, like it's like we are very similar. We're good. It can be very compatible. But you know, when you have too much of one element, and
could it be damaging too, though? Because I don't know. I know, like in astrology, but then also just in other aspects, when you are too aloof, and then when you're aloof and then you have another person that's aloof, doesn't usually in a romantic way, for a relationship to work, one has to be not as aloof as the other? Or do you think with Aquarius, they just appreciate that altogether? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Or does it depend on the Aquarius and their chart and all of that stuff?
Well, the astrological answer is definitely going to depend on the other things, because in astrology we never consider only one thing alone. Gotcha. We look at one thing alone because we have to synthesize it, but we don't like make a judgment or a prediction or we don't say, oh, it's this way because of this. We have to consider all the other parts. But you know, like from like you were saying, not just astrology, but just in general, too much of something can definitely imbalance a relationship. And so, you know, I would I would say, two Aquarians that also have their moon signs in air signs, and then like a predominance of air signs, and they're definitely at risk of intellectualizing their relationship, of kind of missing some emotional components that are necessary in a relationship. And they may just get to a point where everything is so rationalized, and it becomes so much about logic that they lose sight of the other elements or the other parts of relating. You know, and we need to have water, and we need to have fire, and we need to have earth and air. And actually, that's why I was excited about you wanting to look at the elements, because it's one of the first things I look at in a chart, is the elemental balance, because that tells me something about a person. You know, if they have balanced elements, then that tells me that they're more balanced. They can, you know, relate maybe to more people, because I can relate to you who's more in the air side, and let's chat, let's talk. But then if I meet somebody who's more water, has tons of water in their chart, then I'm going to tap into my emotional nature. I'm going to be more empathetic. I'm going to listen more, be more sensitive to how I say things, because that's how they're operating. But, you know, not everybody has a balance, and some people have a lot more air, or a lot more water, or a lot more fire. You know, you meet somebody who's all air, because I know we're on the air signs, then you can expect that they're going to intellectualize things more. They're going to use logic and be more rational. But they may not be able to tap in emotionally. They might not notice how their words are affecting another person.
They normally don't. Like they normally don't, and you have to really bring them down. Like for people that I know that are air signs that are too much into just their sun sign, you really have to kind of like, hey, this is how I'm feeling, and then it's, you know, then they'll pay attention. But sometimes you really have to let them know. So
yeah, and I think that's the hard part about just being human, because we're so lacking objectivity a lot of the time, that instead of recognizing that person, they're not trying to be whatever negative way they might be seeming to be, that's just that they don't know any better. And then when we respond to that in a way that's just like they're doing it on purpose, so I'm gonna give it back to you, and then it kind of becomes this.
Yeah, it's a tug of war sometimes for no reason, and it's sometimes just putting your pride to the side and really just seeing if you can just not getting your feelings and just let them know how you feel, and just see where it goes from there. A lot of people have issues with their ego and stuff.
So the last one, Aquarius and Pisces. So the Pisces is water, and Aquarius is air.
Okay.
So air and water air and fire are the ones that go really well together. So air and water. Let's see if we can find some common ground. Pisces being a water sign and a passive sign and a mutable sign. So they're changeable, and they tend to react rather than be proactive, and they're water. So they're more emotionally based. Pisces are known for having a difficult time of knowing where I end and where you start. That's why sometimes they say Pisces don't have boundaries, and because they don't see the need for them. They kind of like to merge and be part of what another person or a thing or whatever it is that they're involved in. And they can be quite visionary and artistic. So you put them with an Aquarius who is active and is, you know, involved in usually in something. If the Pisces falls for the Aquarius, then the Pisces will probably embrace everything that the Aquarius is all about. And so the thing that a Pisces needs to watch out for is that they lose themselves in the Aquarius, because the Aquarius being more mental and not emotional is probably not going to recognize they're just going to be so excited that the Pisces is into everything that they're into, and that, oh, they want to come with me to that, and they want to do this and do that and do that, but and that maybe not recognize that the Pisces is just, they're doing this because they want to connect and be with the Aquarius, and not that they really actually believe those things.
Got you.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. If that's, I mean, Pisces has this aspect that they have to watch out for any sign. But when they're with a sign that is less able to notice that, then the Pisces is more at risk for kind of giving too much, for, over giving, and then one day just be like, I'm so empty, I don't have anything left to give. And then the Aquarius is like, I don't understand, like, what happened? Like, everything was great. That's the kind of thing that can happen between the two. Like Pisces, I'll do it, I'll follow you anywhere, let's do anything. But after time, if there's not kind of like this equal reciprocity, the Pisces can start, like it's drained, their water's drained, and the Aquarius is blindsided, and the Pisces is devastated. And so if you're a Pisces or an Aquarius listening, and you want to date a Pisces or Aquarius, the key is to really Aquarius loves to talk about it, and Pisces is going to be emotional and isn't going to be like a Scorpio where they're bottled up, and or like a Cancer that has the protective shell. The Pisces will be more open to, like, it will all come out. So the key is to talk about it, or to talk about it, because Aquarius is going to want to talk. But Pisces has to be honest. Pisces has to, like, kind of step up and be willing to say if they're just not interested in something that the Aquarius is interested in, and can they still find an interest in each other? Because we don't want the Pisces molding themselves into something that they think the Aquarius wants just to be with the Aquarius, because it's never going to work in the long run.
It's not. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So thank you for giving the breakdown for all of the Aquarius sign and who they're compatible to. So next we're going to jump into Libra or Gemini.
Well, I was thinking Gemini next, because that'll be coming up in May, June. So that'll be the next of the air signs. Okay, so Gemini is the twins, and the air sign, and super chatty. I have lots of Gemini friends, and I have a Gemini sister. It's just like Geminis are kind of like all around me. So I love the Gemini chatability. So we'll just jump right in with Aries. So Gemini and Aries together, we have an air sign and a fire sign. And so if you've been listening, you probably already know that air and fire go really well together. And so they're going to be compatible. Gemini is going to do well with an Aries. And they're going to have a lot to talk about. They're going to do a lot together. They're going to be really active. So both signs are active. And Gemini is adaptable. Aries is about charging. They're dynamic, take action. And so they're really going to bounce off each other. Their energy's really going to work well together. I think this is a really good match. Gemini is very adaptable. I think Gemini can get along with almost everybody, but almost everybody. Okay, I'm going to think of a different way to say this. I think Gemini can get along with almost everyone, but there are signs that have difficulty with Gemini, because Gemini they're so communicative is the word, that sometimes they don't realize how their words land. And they're an air sign, so sometimes they don't even care, Right. I mean, I don't mean they're not, and I don't mean like them being purposely mean or rude. Just they're blunt. If they have something to say, they're going to say it, and they have pretty tough skin. So they kind of like think that everybody else has really tough skin, and not everybody does. And so sometimes they're misunderstood. They're not going to be misunderstood by an Aries. An Aries is just going to be like, okay, hey, that was rude. Like they're going to come back at a Gemini just as strong is not the right word, but I'm going to use it because for lack of another, but they're going to, and they might even come back like even kind of charging, Aries is a fire sign and it's like charge. Aries is associated with the god of war, right? He's like leading the army into battle. So Aries doesn't mind a few sharp words coming at him. He's going to throw a few sharp words back. And so this couple can fight. They can have, heated debates and heated words, very passionate affair, no lack of activity. They're, let's go out. Okay. Hey, what are you doing? I'm heading out to the bar. You want to meet me there? Sure. These two people are going to be extremely active together.
That's awesome.
And yeah. But I would expect like a little more arguing. But that doesn't mean that it's bad. Arguing is actually good for couples. If you don't argue, then it's more likely that you're carrying around things inside that you're just not letting out. I know that's not the case with everyone, but with the Aries and the Gemini, what's good about them is that things just don't tend to get left festering inside. They're both too expressive for that to happen. And so it's kind of cool how these two can maybe appear to argue more than other couples, but actually have worked through a lot more than other couples because they're just so active.
Gotcha.
Yeah. With Taurus. So Gemini with Taurus, Gemini's like, all about adaptability and different things. And they're really curious. They're curious human beings. Where Taurus is, more of like the status quo. They like to kick back and enjoy the finer things in life. And, they really enjoy staying home on the couch and watching something on TV, catching a movie, having a really nice glass of wine. Like that is like wonderful for them. That is heaven. That is like, what they live for, where a Gemini is like, that's boring. They're like, I don't want to sit on the couch tonight. Now, that doesn't mean that they never want to sit on the couch and watch the TV, but that's not what they want to do, like, very much. They might want to do like, one day a week. It's like, okay, this is my day off. I'm not going to go out today. But the other 6 days of the week, I've got to be out. I have to meet people. I have to talk to people. There's stuff to do, people to see. Right. And where a Taurus is kind of more like, I like a quiet life. I'd rather kind of like, not be so busy. And so that could be a point of contention for these two. But, if they do get together, Gemini, sure, will love to go out to a nice meal, so there has to be some compromise there. Taurus being very fixed, Gemini is the flexible one. So Gemini is more likely to give in and be less social with the Taurus. Taurus is passive. It's not proactive, where Gemini is going to be more active. And so, those are differences that can, are areas where compromise is needed. And if these two people make those compromises, then a relationship can work. Of course, a Gemini with more earth signs in their chart and a Taurus with more air signs in their chart will be able to find a way to compromise. Moving on to Gemini. So a Gemini with a Gemini. That's 4 people, by the way, not just 2. And so they're each kind of bringing them and their ultra ego with them to the party. Is there room for all 4 of them in the relationship? That is the question. Geminis are easily bored. And so that's another reason why if they're with a Taurus, it may not work out. It might work out for a little while. And then the Gemini is like bored and like, I'm moving on. But with the Gemini, they're both kind of super active and can like end up moving on from each other just because they're both so active and they're like, it's a kind of like a nervous energy. It's Mercury is the ruler, and it's about it's the planet of communication and the nervous system. So now you have 2 the two, Gemini and Gemini, so both of these mercurial beings, kind of like electricity, and like zzz, 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 and you know, which way are they buzzing to? And they're great if they're buzzing along together, but if something comes along and one person is really social in one area and the other one's really social in a different area where they can't combine them, there's a really good chance that they're just going to find themselves interested in someone else. Gemini's attention span is kind of short, and I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just that if you're here, great, we're having fun, party. But if you're not here, then I'm having fun and party with somebody else. And over time, that's going to dilute a relationship. You know, Geminis need that social interaction. So if you're going to date a Gemini, you need to do things together. You need to be active together. And if you're not, then, you know, one or the other is probably going to meet somebody else, and that's probably going to break up the relationship. So.
Wow. Okay.
I hate to say that, but I do know so many Geminis, and always have been amazed at how many people have dated. And I was always like, how do you like get so many dates? Like I haven't met anyone in months, and like you've had like 20 dates. And on a date, you meet somebody who wants to take you out on a date. Like, but Geminis, you know, they are chameleons. They can talk to anyone. They can talk to anyone about anything. They have a lot to talk about. So, you know, the jack of all trades and know a little bit about everything. So it's very easy for them to meet people and to flirt. Biggest flirts.
Yeah.
Of the zodiac. All right, so moving on to Cancer. So a Gemini and Cancer, a little bit of similarity with Taurus, where there's going to be a big difference between a Gemini and a Cancer. That the Gemini is going to be super social, and words, you know, they're all about getting the words out. You know, they have a lot to say. I mean, Cancer can be very sensitive and security driven, and so there's the chance that the Gemini can say things that a Cancer can hold on to things and not necessarily even express it. You know, they might keep it on the inside. Their feelings are hurt. Cancers are of the modality of the cardinal, of the active and the take action. So they're different than like a Pisces or even a Scorpio, who may stay longer, stay the distance in a relationship, or a Cancer is probably not. A Cancer is going to maybe get their feelings hurt, may speak up and say something about it, but will take action to protect themselves. So a Gemini and a Cancer do have to be, the Gemini has to be careful with how they express themselves with their words to a Cancer. And a Cancer can be overly sensitive. You know, a Cancer has to be able to acknowledge that, okay, they said that, and that might have come off wrong, you know, because the Gemini is just, you know, the words are always coming out. But so if it comes out crude or rude or you know, just to get it out, it wasn't formulated in a really sensitive way like a Cancer wants. The Cancer has to be able to say, okay, I know that they said it like that and that hurt my feelings, but what did they really mean? And Cancer can do that. But if they're not, if they don't recognize that that's what's happening, then they can just get defensive. And then if it happens a lot, then they're just going to be like, I'm done with you. I'm out. Like we've said before, other parts of the chart are going to say how prominent that is in the relationship or not. Yeah. I just think there's going to be a little bit more challenge than a Gemini with an air or a fire sign, as opposed to a water or an earth sign. So, yeah. Going to move on to Leo and Gemini. It's fire and air, so we know it's a good mix. They're going to have a lot of fun, just a lot of fun together. that Leo is a fixed sign, so they're gonna be the ones kind of sticking their heels in the ground. Where Gemini is the changeable sign, so Gemini is going to be more likely to be the one who has to adapt somewhat to the Leo. The Leo, excuse me, Leo is super creative, and they have some skill in terms of like events and I mean, not just like the things we know about Leos, the creative, the Madonnas of the world, you know, the Leos on the stage, the superstars.
Yeah.
But Leos create, you know, that's their thing, their motto, I create. And so they can create things. They can be detail oriented too. And they're fixed, so they can really maintain or build things that last, you know, they're create things that last. Like, you know, I love to think about Madonna and what she's grown in her career. Like, she's just done phenomenal things. And I know she has some Virgo in her chart too, so that helps. But, you know, some of those shows that she's put on with the choreography and like all the people and all what it took to put that together.
Right.
And, you know, she's at the center of that. Like, you know, she has staff, obviously, but she didn't step away. Like, she was very involved with like how to produce something like this. Like a producer, I think a Leo as a producer is a good way to look at it. A music producer who's like handling all those creative components. So Leo's pretty cool that they can do that. And Gemini can appreciate that. You know, Gemini will really love all of that creativity and, you know, let's get together, let's do something. I think it's a great match. Yeah, so air, fire, and then they're both active. They both take action. They're not passive, they're proactive. So they'll be fine together. The place where they could run into problems is that the Leo sign is about pride and it's our ego. And so how I would describe Leos is like, you give them their proper admiration and they purr. If you don't, they roar. They rah. Right. And so you know, that is something with the Leo you always have to be aware of, is that their ego is going to be front and center. I mean, everybody has an ego. We all have Leo in our charts. So, you know, you could say that about everyone, but what I'm saying is that Leos are going to be more sensitive to their own ego. And of course, everyone's ego is based on how it's reflected back to them and other people. So if a Gemini has a super a fast mouth that they don't think about the words before they come out, and the Leo's constantly feeling like they're being or not being recognized, it's going to be a problem. You know, the Leo's going to want to hear words that are saying, "Oh, you did that so well." You know, that's a great shirt, or just it doesn't have to be. I mean, not fake. Don't do fake. I'm not saying to be fake, but you know, if you can't appreciate your Leo for all their Leo-ness, they're not going to be very happy. They're going to be cranky lions.
Agree. I dated a Leo for a while, and that hits it on the nail. And I still talk to him. He's really cool. And he's going through similar issues now. And I think a lot of it has what to do with what you just said. So yeah. I definitely agree with that about Leo.
Yeah. If you want to date a Leo, you have to be able to make them feel confident. You know, that's really what it comes down. The opposite of like an ego is like, you know, you help someone, you recognize them and you help them feel confident. And if a Leo wants to date a Gemini, you have to like be mentally stimulating, period. Any sign who wants to date a Gemini is going to need to be mentally stimulating. And anyone who wants to date a Leo is going to need to stroke that ego a little bit.
Yeah.
But not in a fake, false way. You know, stroke the ego where it deserves to be stroked.
Right.
Yes. Okay, moving on to Virgo. Now, talk about sensitive to words. Virgo is very sensitive in a different way. Where Leo, it's about confidence. Virgo, it's about being judged. So Virgo is perfectionistic. If you know any Virgos, that's kind of like their key word, and that's a double-edged sword, because being perfectionistic is good. It gets things done. It gets things done well and right. It's a very analytical sign, and the first person thing that it analyzes for perfection is himself or herself or themselves. So when you meet a Virgo or you're dating a Virgo, they've already got all this self-critical stuff going on. Like, you can't criticize them any more than they criticize themselves.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're going to date one, you have to be careful about how critical you are, because they don't really need it, usually, not always, but they don't. You just have to like evaluate, like, am I being critical because they need to hear this, or am I being critical because I'm frustrated with them? And do they actually already know this, and they're really struggling with dealing with whatever it is. But you put them with a Gemini who has a slippery mouth, and like anything can come out without them thinking about it, especially depending on the other parts of their chart. There's a possibility that this could be a really challenging relationship. So you have your earth sign, and then you have your air sign. So it's not a fire or an air sign that goes well with Gemini. And Virgo is more passive, where Gemini is more active. Excuse me. But they're both kind of changeable. They both have that mutable aspect. So they do have a few places they can meet on. They both would be willing to compromise. It's just that they may not even agree on what to compromise on. And they both have a mercurial, kind of like what we talked about when we talked about Aquarius, that Aquarius and Capricorn share the same ruler. Gemini and Virgo share the same ruler. They both are ruled by Mercury. So it's a very, it is the sign of learning and of communication and intellect. And so there's a mental quality to Virgo. It's the analytical side. And Gemini is more of the learning side. And so they can definitely get together from an intellectual standpoint. And I think that's the way to compromise, is that they have to talk it out. And neither of them are emotional. I mean, they're not water, it's earth and air. So there are ways that they can find to mend their differences. It's just a question of, is it this constant ongoing thing where these words are stabbing the other person, and it just kind of gets to a point where it's just not working. So that would be the area to watch out for. But if they can find a good way to compromise, and they can kind of alter, which they can, both being mutable, changeable signs, alter their way that they when they realize what it is that is causing this challenge, they both have the ability to change the way that they interact with each other, and then it could work. And of course, looking at the other signs, placements in the chart. Gemini and Libra. I think that this is one of the best combinations for Gemini. Of course, I'm a little biased because I have so many Gemini friends. But this couple will be friends. This is a signature of a great friendship. So if you're a Gemini and you're dating a Libra, I believe that you're going to find that you're great friends. And even if the romance doesn't last, the friendship probably will last. It's just a really great combination. They're both air signs. They're both social. They both love communication. Libra is a cardinal sign, so Libra is going to be more action-oriented, and Gemini is going to be changeable, kind of like whatever, go with the flow. They're both active signs, so they'll have a lot to talk about, a lot to do. Libra is going to enjoy the arts more, and so Gemini will be like, whatever, that sounds cool to me. We'll go to rock concerts, and we'll do the paint and wine, and things like that, and just really lovely, just chatting it up and happy as can be. areas we have to watch out for is, two air signs can be too intellectual and kind of keep it too much on the mental plane. But hopefully, with all the other planets and signs that they'll find other connections that are not all air. I don't really see it as that. It's not going to really trip them up too much. It's just that they have to make sure that they get out of their head and into their bodies, or that kind of thing. Okay. With Scorpio and Gemini. So my note was, can you keep a secret? No, Gemini cannot. Probably not. And Scorpios are private people. They are very protective over their vulnerabilities. And you put them with a Gemini who is kind of like talk first, think later, or speak first, think later. That's not saying it right. The words come out first, and then, whatever happens. And Scorpio's like, that does not work for me. You cannot do that ever again, or I will punish you. I think that this is a pretty difficult combination, because they're just so different in nature. And some of the things that Gemini does are just kind of like really on the no deal list, for Scorpio. And Scorpios need trust and loyalty, and Geminis, not that they can't be trustworthy or loyal, they certainly can, but maybe their ideas or their definitions of loyalty are different. Scorpio is a water sign, and so they come from an emotional standpoint and the subtleties of life, where Geminis are just really kind of things just roll off their back. And so what a Gemini might consider like, that's not a big deal. Like, everybody does that, or everybody thinks that, or and so they might share something about their personal life in that Scorpio, and the Scorpio's like, that is private, that is top secret, that is like not something that we talk about. And the Gemini is like, I don't even understand where you're coming from,
Yeah.
So it's very innocent. It's, but then the Scorpio might want to punish the Gemini. It's like, I can't believe you did that. You're not loyal. You're not respecting me, or, you're trying to control me, or, just, and the Gemini's like, but no. And so they could really just have a hard time getting back to trust. I think it comes down to trust. And the only way to make it work is that the Gemini has to have some personality features that are that work for the Scorpio. Pure Gemini and Scorpio are probably not going to get along. But if with other compatible features in the chart, like if the Gemini person had some Scorpio, like if they had their Mercury in Scorpio, the way that they communicate, that could work, because a person with Mercury in Scorpio is going to be way less
Flighty.
Right? But a Gemini with the Mercury in Gemini is probably a word vomit person. Like, things are just going to flow out of that person, and the Scorpio is going to be like, I'm not telling you anything about myself that makes me vulnerable, that I don't know what you're going to do with that information. So just be aware of those things. All right, next is Sagittarius with the Gemini. These are the two opposite signs. So in the zodiac, there's always a sign that's opposite of a sign. Mm-hmm. Gemini and Sagittarius, they're opposite, and kind of like the best way to understand them is idealism versus having like a objective fact. So you can, I'm gonna dare into the territory of religion, but because Sagittarius and its ruler Jupiter have some association with faith and religion and our ideals, I think it's a good way to understand the difference, because Gemini is about learning and education and facts. So you can have somebody who's super into their faith, into their religion. But one, we could have two people, and one is about the faith and the idealism of it all, and kind of like the intuition, and just like this feeling of this bigger power than myself. And then you have the one on the opposite end of the stick, who's the religious scholar who quotes the Bible and who's very dogmatic. It's like dogmatism versus idealism. So your Sagittarius is like ideal and the faith, and then the Gemini is about the fact and the Bible and the book. And they both can say, "Oh, I'm super religious. Oh, I am too," or or "I'm really into my faith. I'm really spiritual, not religious. Oh, me too." But then they start talking, and it's like, well, wait a minute. No, I follow this yoga regimen, and then and they say this, and the other one's like, but we just have to believe. We just have to like open our heart, And so you have these two people who are the opposite end of the same stick, right? But this extreme opposites. But really, these two probably will get along really well. They're both very outgoing signs. You have your fire and your air, so that's a good compatibility with the elements. They're both active. Neither of them are passive. I just think that they're gonna they are gonna have a lot to talk about, because a Sagittarius will debate you to on their, if they believe in it, on philosophy and their ideals. They will debate you endlessly, and Geminis love to talk. Libra's going to debate you, but they're going to debate you because they take an opposing view and they want to debate their view. Yeah. Whereas Sagittarians like to philosophize, because it's not really debating, I guess. It's more philosophizing, although it's gray, where philosophizing stops and debating starts. But the Sagittarians, they love to think about the bigger picture. They're super optimistic, and both Gemini and Sagittarians seem to be lucky, although Sagittarians are ruled by Jupiter, the planet that brings opportunity and luck. So there's definitely kind of this positive air that hangs over these two, and they could really have a lot of fun getting into minor trouble together. Not really trouble, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
we're gonna go do and throw caution to the wind, but everything seems to turn out okay for them anyway.
That sounds beautiful to me.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I think being a Sag, you're with a Gemini, you can have a lot of fun. It's just that they might become more dogmatic, where you are more into the idealism of it all. But what a fun conversation.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so good compatibility. Gemini and a Capricorn. So a Gemini will listen to the Capricorn, and the Gemini might really like the structure and kind of foundation that a Capricorn can give them, if they have the freedom for their intellectual pursuits. Capricorns are earth signs, and so it's not the fire air grouping that Geminis work best with. Capricorn is dynamic, it's leadership oriented, it's the cardinal. And so a Gemini will like that, they'll like that this earth sign is going to do something, is going to take charge, which is kind of the difference, like when we talked about the earth sign of Taurus. The Taurus is fixed, they're not going to like naturally take charge. Not that they won't, they will if they need to, if there's a reason to, but Capricorns take charge because that's just part of their makeup. They enjoy taking charge. They're the boss, they're the leader. They like to have control too. They like to be the CEO who's overseeing everything. And so these two, if they're on the same page, they can get stuff done. The Gemini can kind of pull Capricorn out of his kind of like cold, rigid ways, and then the Capricorn can like ground the Gemini from their nervous, busy energies. So there's definitely areas where they can they can find the compromise, that they both have like some active qualities. Yeah. Where it can be tough is that the Gemini might just not want to do things the way the Capricorn wants to do them, and the Capricorn is going to be pretty certain that they're right and that things need to be done in a certain way, and they're probably, they're probably both right. But if they don't find a way to compromise that, then the Capricorn is going to be like, nope, it's going to be this way or the highway, and Gemini is going to be like, highway, thank you, I'm out.
Right.
Yeah. But at least the Gemini will listen, But if the Capricorn is just being listened to and isn't willing to compromise, then at some point it may just be too much. Okay, moving on to Aquarius. It's an air sign, so naturally a Gemini and Aquarius are going to get along well. They are going to, I think we did this with the Aquarius when we did Aquarius, but I'm going to repeat it here for the people who are just listening in for the Gemini part. They're really going to appreciate each other's intellect. They're going to have a lot to talk about. They could create some really, really interesting things mentally and intellectually. Whether they can get that grounded is a whole different thing. They're going to need something else in their charts to kind of like ground that energy. But yeah, they're just going to meet each other and be like, oh, you're so smart, and you're so smart, and just really appreciate that quality and have no lack of conversation between them. Aquarius, so it's air. So they're both kind of like of that element. They're both active. And so, they're neither of them are going to sit around waiting to react. They're going to be more proactive. And then Gemini is going to be the more adaptable one, and Aquarius is going to be more of the one sticking his heels in the mud and saying, he, she, or they, and saying, nope, no, it's got to, we got to stay like this, or status quo, or, I don't want to change. You change. I'm not going to change. And so, and the Gemini might, the Gemini's pretty adaptable. Like, yeah, well, I don't really care if I go out every Tuesday night with my girlfriends. I'll go out on Wednesdays with them. Okay. I mean, they'll find another way that can work with both of them. And instead of going out for drinks on Tuesdays, we'll have lunch instead. How about that? And okay, I can deal with lunch as long as I get to see you on Tuesday nights. If they can do that, then that'll help. And then I do want to talk about the whole, kind of like too much of a element that, oh no, I did already. Yeah, we already talked about that, too much intellect. So they want to find ways that they can ground their relationship. Okay, and the last sign, Pisces. So Gemini and Pisces. So it's air and water, which is not, the ideal mix for Gemini. And then active and passive. So Gemini's active and Pisces is more passive. But they're both adaptable. So they do have that common ground. They both have like the ability to compromise and kind of like make changes that would work. The Pisces sign has this quality of wanting to melt into the other. They have a hard time seeing the boundary between me and you. And so, and this is I'm going to say this probably, I hope I remember to say this for every sign that we do, that when we talk about Pisces, there's this quality of Pisces that they sometimes they have a hard time understanding where, or who they are and how they are their own individual and not base who they are on other people. If they really get attached to someone, they take on their interests and
they do.
Yeah.
They do. Setting boundaries and like you said, really knowing who you are. And then sometimes they'll know who they are, but like you said before, they kind of still just go along with who they want to be around, and then they get drained, and eventually, like you said, the truth always comes out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. When a Pisces is with a sign who is not a good, doesn't have a lot of similarities, you know, I don't want to say the word good, so please erase that from what you heard me say. If I catch myself saying that, I always have to qualify that. It's not like good or bad. It's just, what is it and how do we make it better? So yeah, Pisces just has to be really aware of that, of what they do, and be with somebody who is also aware of that. Even if you have to tell them, like, I need to let you know that I sometimes do this, and you know, I don't want to do that. I mean, it always depends on the relationship, how you say this, but some signs are going to be naturally better at seeing that in another person. Like a Cancer is going to be really good with the Pisces to kind of be like, you know, are you sure you want to do that? Or are you just doing that because I want to do that?
Right.
And it's great if you do something with me because you want to be with me, to share that with me. But if you do that all the time, then what's you or you? You know, what's left that's just you? And we all need to maintain some of our individuality. You know, when a relationship always means compromise, we always have to like consider another person. But we can't do we can't give everything either. We have to have both. So when the Gemini's with the Pisces has to be careful, because the Gemini, being kind of more of an intellectual, may not notice and just might be really super excited that this Pisces wants to do everything that they want to do. And you know, kind of similar to what I think we said about Aquarius, is that the Gemini can be super happy and like, this is great, this relationship's awesome. And then one day the Pisces wakes up and says, I don't even know who I am anymore, and realizes that this is bad for them and they need to break it off. And then the Gemini is like, what happened? Like,
right,
everything was great. The Pisces is like, but no, I don't like this and I don't like that and I don't want to do that. And the Gemini is like, I had no idea. Now, the good thing is that the Gemini does have that compromising quality and they might be able to work it out. But that's just the danger. And then the Gemini might just be kind of like, not like that. They might want more out of the Pisces. The Gemini be like, what do you think? And the Pisces is like, well, whatever you think. It's like, no, what do you think?
Right.
I need you to have a thought. I need you to disagree with me, because Geminis like to have that banter. And if the person that they're with is just agreeing with them all the time, then they're gonna be like, that's boring, I'm out of here. So, and I don't want to make it sound like Pisces is always agreeable, but it is something that they can fall into, that they don't want to have an argument. They don't want to just, they want it to just be like flowing and easy, and, you know, put on my rose-colored glasses and, you know, make it really artistic and like just, ooh, you know, surreal, you know. And Gemini is just like, you know, sometimes their words come out like knives, and I know that they don't mean to. It's just that sometimes they can be blunt. Sagittarians also can be very blunt. So a Pisces it has to, this may not be the best relationship. We talked about ways that they can compromise and some pitfalls they can fall into, and obviously other parts in the chart would say, you know, if this is here's other ways to make this work, or, you know what, these other planets in the chart make this even more difficult for you. So
got you. Okay, awesome. So thank you for that breakdown within Gemini and all of the signs they are compatible with and not compatible with. And last but not least, we have Libra in the air sign element. So we're going to break that down, along with talking about who they're compatible with and who they're not compatible with. So take it away, Lori.
Okay, well, this one's coming from personal experience. Libra here. So luckily I have, I shouldn't say luckily, but I'm going to say that I only have the sun in Libra for me. So I'm not like a super Libra. So I am coming from I don't have so much in Libra that I'm blinded by the sign. I have kind of a mix. So
Okay,
And
so
I've had
you're
a
not
lot of,
totally biased.
I'm not totally biased. Exactly. Exactly. All righty. So we'll start at the top with Aries. And Aries is the opposite sign of Libra. So every sign has an opposite sign in the zodiac. And it just so happens that Libra and Aries are on the axis. And so this is, I think that this is the easiest combination to understand because Libra is about others and Aries is about me. So um, uh, this combination makes the two partners have to, it will come up in some way, shape, or form where the Aries energy is about like not considering other people, just selfishness, me. And the Libra part is about always about others and harmony. And because people project, you can find Libras who are very self-oriented and you know, even Aries that can be more others focused, although I think it's pretty hard for Aries energy to be others focused. But what you would have in this dynamic is that this constant going back and forth, us, me, us. And it can be a really good combination, really, really good. They are air fire, which we know air fire is works well together, just like earth water works together. And it's opposites attract kind of stuff. Libra is a dynamic, a cardinal sign. They're going to be take active leadership, and so is Aries. So you have like a double, like active, and also with the passive active. They're both active. They're proactive. So they're both leadership signs. They're both dynamic, take charge signs, and they both are proactive, not reactive. And then they're fire and air. So that's a lot of compatibility here. Now it's going to depend on the other parts of the chart as always. And the pitfalls here are that if an Aries is not well developed, so if you're an Aries and you have not lived enough life, you know, because a lot of times the younger Aries kind of like are more the self-centered, selfish types. You could take advantage of the Libra type, you know, and then if you happen to be with the Libra who's also maybe younger or hasn't kind of like worked through some of their personality development yet, and they are too focused on the other, and then you get these two people in a relationship, it can be really imbalanced and become fairly toxic because you have one person who's solely focused on the other, and that other person is solely focused on himself or herself or themselves. And so that's when an Aries and Libra relationship can become a problem. But, you know, I'd say, you know, the majority of people, they develop the, at least the acknowledgement that this happens, even if they're still trying to work it out, even if like the Libra person's trying to be more like, okay, I have to take care of my own needs too. I can't just take care of his or hers or theirs. And then if the Aries person is like, okay, I know that I have to take care of myself and my needs are important and I'm always going to take care of number one, but I'm also going to consider my significant other, and because what I do affects that person, then this relationship is really good, but not the other way around. And like I said, it happens more often with younger people and when they're first getting in these relationships. But that's how we learn, you know, that's how we learn about ourselves and that's how we learn about others. So if you're a Libra or an Aries and you're looking to date a Libra or an Aries, this is going to be a main theme of your relationship. So, and I'm talking like on a interpersonal level, not like the external, you know, career, life, kids, that kind of stuff. I'm just talking about like the relationship between the two people, that you really have to acknowledge that there's this balance that needs to be made and you have to work at it. And you could say that about every any sign combination, especially the opposite sign combinations, and then especially the Libra Aries combination because they just happen to represent those energies. So of all the sign combinations, this is like the me versus them combination that is going to be at play between these two people.
Gotcha.
All right. Now, Taurus in Libra. Libra is an air sign. Taurus is an earth sign, so it's not of the air fire that is the best combination. And Taurus is fixed, where Libra is like dynamic, like leadership, charge forward oriented. And then Taurus is passive and Libra is active. So they don't have a whole lot in common in terms of those things, but they do have one really, really, really big thing in common, and that is that they are both ruled the planet Venus. They both have this, they both have this innate love for things, pleasurable things. Now, obviously, there's a difference in how Venus expresses herself between the two signs. Taurus is going to be more material oriented, and Libra is going to be more social oriented. But they do have like a lot of differences. Besides sharing their ruling planet, they really do approach things a bit differently. Libra being an air sign is going to want that social, intellectual stimulation. And Taurus may or may not be into that. It's not that they're not intellectual, they're just more into like the material part of life. They love to build things, construct things, grow things. And if Libra's interested in some of those things that Taurus is building, then they'll have something to talk about. But if Taurus is more of that quiet type, just kind of like do my daily grind, go home, make my dinner, watch my TV show, wake up the next day, do it all over again, the Libra may not have enough stimulation. There's going to have to be something stimulating for the Libra. But they will both enjoy the pleasurable things together. They're going to enjoy a bottle of wine. They're going to enjoy a nice dinner. They'll love to go to the spa together. They'll probably have similar values. They'll be able to find a commonality there. Neither of them are the mutable modality. Neither of them are compromise oriented. So where the Taurus is going to put his feet down and kind of like be like, nope, not going to change. And then the Libra's like, I'm going to make the change. The Libra's about making change, taking action. And you can't make somebody change. Somebody will change if they want to, or they may change for you, but that never really works out because they didn't really change. They just altered their behavior to make you think that, to make it work, that it has to be honest. So I think for these two signs, if it's going to work, they're going to figure it out fairly quickly. I don't think that this is one of those relationships that could go on and on and on and on and not be okay. Like, I think that, Taurus would stay in it. I think Libra is going to be the one who's kind of going to be like, this is great. I'm in love, but then, after, when that mental stimulation just isn't there, there's only so much time a Libra is going to stick around before they're like, you're a great person, but not for me. You'll be a great person for someone else. So, okay, that's Libra and Taurus. Libra and Gemini. So we talked about Libra and Gemini in the Gemini segment. So we're going to talk about it again here with the Libra. And it's just such a great combination. Really, really compatible. I have, my note is that you're my best friend. Like, these two are just, they're great friends. Even if they break up, they're still going to be great friends. There is a possibility of it becoming too mental and intellectual. And I think that's a lot of times when a great relationship breaks up, is because everything's great, but there's no physical, like the physical part of it just isn't there. Everything else works but that. And so that could happen with the Libra and a Gemini if they don't have other components helping them with the physical passion, the sex part of the relationship. But they certainly can have great sex. I am absolutely not saying that that's not possible. I'm just saying that the energies we're talking about here are very mental and intellectual and social. They're going to be busy. They're going to do lots of stuff together. Yeah. And idle chit chat, like, you know, this isn't Aquarius air. This is Libra and Gemini. So they're less cause oriented. They just are talk oriented and mental stimulation oriented. So yeah, fun. Get, you know, if you have friends that are a couple, like a Libra Gemini couple, I'm sure they are probably, you know,
The life of the party, fun,
yeah,
conversational, yeah.
When they're having a party, you go. Okay, going on to Cancer. So Libra and Cancer, they are air and water. And the first thing that I think about when I think of Libra and Cancer is they're both dynamic. They're, well, Libra is one of the 4 cardinal signs. So we've talked about that like throughout the series so far. Just I kind of like said it as we talked about a particular sign, but there's 4: Libra, Aries, Cancer, Capricorn. So earlier we talked about Aries being this dynamic, leadership oriented sign. Cancer is too, but Cancer approaches things differently. So Cancer is a water sign and it's a passive sign. So this is where it differs a lot. So Cancer will stand up for themselves, but they tend to do it sideways, and they have that protective armor on them. And if they're dating a Libra, you have 2 signs that both are active and dynamic and willing to take action. But Cancer is more passive because the polarity is, I know it's a little confusing. The polarity is passive. I stay away from gender stuff, but it's like there's feminine, masculine, or you know, negative, positive, and yin, yang. It's that. Those are the energies we're talking about. And I use the words passive or react or proactive, passive or proactive. And so in that sense, Cancer is the passive one. But in terms of the cardinal sign, or the dynamic, or the modality, kind of like how they operate, they will, rather than being changeable or stuck in the mud, they will take a leadership stance, or they will take action, I guess you could say. So they have like this, it's not a dichotomy, but what do you say? Like this, maybe it is a dichotomy, where they have a passive side to them and a dynamic, active side to them. Does that make sense? They have
that does make sense. That's kind of cool. See, I didn't know that about a Cancer. That's cool.
Yeah. And then if you think about the crab, it's like, oh, well, that makes sense. So the crab takes action, but he's going sideways. So, you know what I mean? They're not going to come right at you at all. And so now you have, so this Cancer person dating a Libra, a Cancer is going to have like their strong ways of doing things. And so, and then they're trying to be in a partnership with the Libra, who also has a strong way of doing things. Libra is going to come at it from a social communication standpoint. They want harmony. Cancer wants security. They want to have emotional security, physical security, and you know, financial security. This is like kind of like their primary drive. And I think that a Libra and a Cancer can make it work, but only if the Cancer feels like they're getting the security that they need. You know, Libras are air signs, but they are very sensitive to the other, and so the words that come out of their mouth usually are not hurtful. They're very much harmony oriented. Libras try to stay away from arguments and confrontation. But if it's a injustice, that's a different story. If they, you know, there'll be the oh, you know, get my nails done and get my hair done and, you know, I'm going to go chit chat with my friends. I'm a Libra. But then if they see something happening, you know, somebody kicks a dog, they're like, what are you doing? You know, they'll like intervene and they'll be like, no, you do not hurt that dog. And I'm calling the animal society right now. And, you know, I'm not letting you out of my sight. And it's like, you know, all of a sudden that side of the Libra comes out.
Yeah.
And the Cancer would be like, you need to protect that dog. You need to go protect that dog. Cancer, once it's done, the Libra's going to go to it. You know, and the Cancer will do it if they have to, but they might not yell at the person. You know, they might just call somebody or, you know, like get their plates and like turn them in. So there's
like sideways, like you said before,
sideways.
Not head on.
Yeah. Right. So these two have a way of getting along as long as the Cancer feels protected and taken care of, and the Libra feels like the Cancer isn't like too unforthcoming. Is that even a word? Like the Libra's going to want to hear from the Cancer. They don't want to have to like psychically guess everything.
Yeah. And that's feeling.
Yeah. The Cancers can kind of do that. Cancers can kind of be like, why didn't you know? Like it was written all over my face. And it's like, well, I don't talk, you know, emotional face language. I talk words.
Right.
Use your words. So they could get into some problems there that the Cancer person, you know, they're water. So they have like a psychic nature to them. They can they'll look at you and they know exactly how you're feeling and they think that you can do that too. But air signs can't, you know, not unless they have other, like a moon in Cancer maybe. And then I can read your mind too using my emotions. But that can be the problem is the Cancer's like totally misunderstood, and the Libra is like, but you know, you won't talk to me, you won't tell me what you're feeling, and it's like, I did tell you. And it's like, no, you didn't. Well, I threw my book down on the ground, you should have known. It's like, oh, I thought you dropped it, you know. So it's not the best, but it's exciting. There's definitely excitement, and there's a dynamicism. Yeah, there's that. That can be exciting for both of them, but there has to be compromise, and there has to be a willingness to understand that they talk two different languages, and you have to speak the other person's language. Okay, going on to Leo. Leo and Libra go really well together. They are both very creative signs. Leo's like the creative one, and the Libra has the appreciation for creativity. They're both on the polarity scale. They're both proactive, and it's air fire, which it works really well together. And what am I forgetting? Air, fire, polarity. Oh, modality. So Leo is more of he's the fixed one. He's the one who's less willing to change, and right. And then Libra will change somewhat. They're not a mutable sign, so I wouldn't. But they're a compromising sign. They're all about compromise. It's kind of like the scales. That's the whole. They're all about balance and equality. So they can get along really well. Like Libra, maybe you know, more than anyone, can kind of like be more understanding for Leo's Leo-ness. You know, Leo, the lion nature of like. You know, Leos are grand. They like to put on a show. They usually have this amazing charisma and qualities, magnetism that people want to see. Like they want to see it. It's not just a show for themselves. it can be, but usually it's because people love what they see, and they get this kind of like positive feedback, like, you know, starting when they're a kid, when they danced and they sang and everyone is like, oh my gosh, you're so amazing. And then, you know, they just kind of grew up like, oh, when I do this, people love it. And then they become adults, and Leos at some point run into that confidence, lack of confidence, like recognition, lack of recognition, being ego, getting my ego in check. And, you know, we'll talk more about that when we get to Leo. But Libras have this soft, sweet way of talking to people, where they may not be so bothered or intimidated by Leo's kind of need for having that recognition, and can really help balance that relationship. But if Leo is truly being egotistic and being like bragging too much, or being kind of just like, you know, the negative qualities, kind of like maybe bragging a little too much, or being too focused on getting recognition, and not letting people recognize him, her, or they organically, you know, people tend to recognize Leos. Like, Leos are good. Like they are creative. They are full of energy. A Libra is going to keep them in check. A Libra might be like really good when they have not enough confidence. They're going to build them up. They're going to, you know, be their rock. They're going to say the words that the Leo needs to hear. But if a Leo goes to the opposite direction, where they're putting people down to lift themselves up, they're bragging, their ego's a little out of check, Libra's also going to put them back in line. They're going to like tell them how it is. But they tend to have, Libras tend to have a way of saying it so that the other person can hear them. Because a Libra knows that if you just say things in a way that's going to upset or make another person mad, I shouldn't say upset, but people tend to tune you out. They're like, I don't want to, not going to listen, or they're going to argue with you. If you really want someone to hear what you have to say, you have to say it in a way that the person doesn't get put on the defense. You know, they need to be able to hear you. And so that makes this a really nice combination, that Libra can really help the Leo, and the Leo can be exciting to the Libra because of all that artsy fartsy stuff that Libras just love, you know. And Libras love pretty things, and Leos are pretty in some way, or, you know, usually have some sort of quality that's really beautiful. And it doesn't have to be like, you know, whatever a magazine cover says is beautiful, but there's just some quality in them that they just really they see the beauty and the creativity. And these two together can be extremely creative. Like, if you put artists together, like, wow, what they can create could be really amazing. So yeah, I think this is a really nice combination. Okay, we'll move on to Virgo. A Libra and a Virgo. So you have the air sign with an earth sign. So it's going to be not in the you know, best signs for the Libra category. And Libra is the dynamic cardinal, like take action sign, and Virgo is immutable, so changeable. So Virgo can kind of adapt better than Libra to that, whatever, you know, in the relationship. And then the polarity is Virgo is going to be more passive or reactive, where Libra is going to be more proactive. And so they don't have a lot of places that they meet on, but I also think that sometimes these combinations can actually work. You know, like Libra's going to take charge and Virgo is going to be like changeable. Neither of them are fixed. Neither of them are sticking their heels in the ground and being like, nope, it's got to be my way. So that's nice. And Virgo is ruled by Mercury, which is the planet of communication and analysis of things. So Virgo does get this air quality to them. I mean, Virgos do have, it's a little different because the particular planet that rules Virgo has that airy quality to it. So that analytical side of Virgo, Libra will respond well to. Like Libra gets analytical and can be analytical, being that it's an air sign. And then Virgo's is Earth, which is going to be practical. It's going to be grounding. And depending on that particular Libra, that could be good for them. You know, sometimes air signs, they do need that grounding. They're that energy that's out there in the air, so an earth sign can bring them down to the ground. Yeah, they can get over analytical though. They can get a little too caught up in the mental part of it. What are other pitfalls? So a Virgo in general is known for their perfectionistic and critical nature, and Libra is going to not really like to be perfected. Who does? No sign really does. There's no sign that's going to be like, yes, give me a Virgo so that they can criticize me and try to perfect me and make me better. Like, you know, who's going to say that? Nobody, and no sign wants that. But Virgo has other qualities than that critical nature. With Libra, a Libra is going to weigh it, you know, I mean, they're the scales, and they're going to kind of decide how they want to respond back to that. And it can either be very growth oriented, like it can actually be a good mix. I mean, it can actually work is what I'm saying, because they could talk things out. But then, you know, a Libra just as easily can be super and make them insecure and kind of like, this isn't good. I just don't get it, you know, because Libra and Virgo are so different, I think, is where I land with these two, that sometimes that difference is what makes it work, because it's just, they don't understand each other's energies, so they can't even say I don't like it. They're just like, that's so like foreign to me, like let's explore. Right. And then the relationship can kind of work, and especially if other things in the chart work. Right. But it also, sorry,
No, I was listening to you. I know a couple who's been together for 7 years that are a Libra and a Virgo, and it's a lot of communication between those two. I think that's the only reason why they're still together, which is great, you know, but it's a lot of communication and really understanding each other, because I believe I wasn't there around them for their beginning, but from what I know, it was really rocky as they got to know each other. But communication has really kept them.
Yeah. It's kind of like they have to, because they're just so foreign and different to each other that it can either break it or make it like the thing that keeps them together, because they just keep working at it, because there's so much good material there to work with. Right. You know, sometimes it's so challenging. It's like, I don't want to work with that. But when it's just like foreign and different, then it's like, well, I kind of like want to know a little more about that.
Yeah, you want to explore a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Now, Libra with a Libra. Oh my. Will anyone ever make a decision when two Libras get together? That is the question. I'm a Libra, and I know about this whole indecisive thing. And I don't find it, you know, I have a hard time making decisions when it comes to like, where do we want to eat? I don't really have a hard time with like the bigger decisions. And I think it comes down to, I don't really care. Like I'm hungry, and I just, you know, we like the same restaurants, so I don't care. So I'm so indecisive because I don't, you know, like whatever, this Chinese or Indian, I don't, you know, whatever. They both are good to me. And they're like, oh, you're so indecisive. No, I mean, it's like, ask me if I don't know, if I want to work in an astrology, or if I want to work in paper making. I don't know, something just random.
Right.
But I want to work in astrology. Like I'm not indecisive. I don't have to take a lot of time and think about that. It's just like, I know. So you put two Libras together, and they may never, ever decide on a restaurant to eat at. You know, like they just, Like, well, where do you want to eat? Well, I don't care. Where do you want to eat? Well, you choose. No, I don't. You choose. It's like, that has happened to me before. And I'm like, look, I don't want to choose. So I choose not to choose. Because people are genuinely trying to be nice, they're like, really trying to be like, I want to eat, where do you want to eat? And I'm like, I mean, like for dates, right? And it's like, no, I'm really being serious. Like, I really want you to just decide. Can you please just decide? That would like take a lot of stress off of me if you just decide. So, that can be a Libra relationship. But at the same time, like I said, like when a Libra really knows what they want, they really know what they want. And that's, it is what it is. So yeah, they can have a great relationship together. Can it be too much of something like any other thing that we've talked about, like too much air or, same sign, too much of it, it can become imbalanced. But generally, you have two air signs, two dynamic air signs that like to take charge, to take leadership of something. They're proactive, they're not passive. So they can get stuff done. Absolutely. They can get stuff done together. They may have some indecisiveness in their relationship. They'll be good friends. I think that, Libras are about harmony. And so, Libras kind of get along with almost everybody, kind of like Gemini. They just, because they're chatty, they really get along with everyone. And the pitfall with the Libras is that because they're so social and because they get along with so many people, people sometimes misunderstand that this connection, thinking that it's so unique when it's really like this chameleon ability of a Libra, to just kind of like see what, when I come into this relationship, I know that if I'm this or that, it's going to bring harmony. So I'm going to be this or that because I want harmony. But then, a year later, when, you really get to know each other and it's no longer like dating, you're like in a relationship, then the Libra is going to be more about what's fair and what's just. And they're no longer going to be like, oh, I'm going to do this to make harmony. It's going to be like, no, this is not fair. I do the dishes 5 times a week and you only do them twice a week and things have to change. And so all of a sudden, really like sweet harmony seeking Libra becomes like this army general. It's like, no, it's going to be this way. And so you get 2 Libras that are like, so like, oh, so sweet. They're going to make such a great couple together. And then the next thing you hear is they're like an all-out battle against each other. It's like, Libra is love and war, not just love.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyone dating a Libra, just keep that in mind, that, you got to really like get past the beginning stages of a relationship when a Libra feels more like fairness and less like harmony. Okay, Scorpios and Libras. It's a air sign and a water sign. And so there has to be kind of like this, Libras have to be a bit of a mind reader with a Scorpio, because Scorpios of all the water signs are the least revealing in terms of their feelings and their emotions. They really have to, trust and loyalty are huge with a Scorpio. So if you're going to date a Scorpio, you have to know that it's going to take time. And so if you're a Libra dating a Scorpio, the beginning can be very sweet because the Libra is bringing harmony and trying to relate to the Scorpio. And the Scorpio is going to see that this person is, harmonious and easygoing. And, at least you can date a Scorpio. At least a Libra and Scorpio can start dating.
Okay.
You continue that. It really depends on the Libra, because Libras are known to have big mouths, right? And, they love to chit chat, and sometimes they tell people secrets when they don't mean to. Kind of like the Gemini, where like everything just comes out of their mouth. I mean, Libras just love to chat it up about gossipy stuff. And so if they break that trust with a Scorpio, it's that relationship's just not going to last. So if you're a Libra and you want to date a Scorpio, you better get a something, what do you like, a clip for
like
your
a
mouth.
grip. Yeah.
Yes, it's just super important. And then the Scorpio, who's known for being possessive and somewhat jealous and controlling, needs to understand that Libras are social, and that they need to have contact with other people. And if a Libra is not a loyal, what's that word? If a Libra is not monogamous, that's the word. If you can't be monogamous with your Scorpio, like, don't bother, because it's just going to hurt the both of you.
Yeah.
And I've had people say to me, like, oh, Scorpios, they're the biggest cheaters in the zodiac. I'm like, I just don't know where that comes from, but I don't believe that is true.
They're really possessive. If they're just, some of them, if they haven't, I think, matured as far as the Scorpio, if they haven't matured as far as their issues with like possession and all of that stuff, I don't see where that comes from either. Like, when you really get to know them, they're very loyal.
Yes.
And they're very possessive. So they have to be like super immature to be just running around here cheating, because they have those qualities too, where they'll be possessive over you and then be running around cheating. A lot of them aren't like that. Not the majority, I wouldn't say. No. That I know anyway. Right.
Not in my experience. I happen to be living with a Scorpio. My boyfriend is Scorpio. So, what I've learned is that they are very loyal. They are very trustworthy, but you have to be that too. You have to do that. And as a Libra, being a really social person, it's my, I feel like it's on me to make sure that he feels like he can trust me, I don't know. I can't tell anyone how to do that, because it really depends on your, the people and what it is that you're doing that in your social life that could make that person feel, possessive, where they actually
act on it. Because I think it's always playing in the background, but
yeah. You have to introduce them to your friends. Like, if you're going to date a Scorpio, they need to meet the people who you're hanging out with, and they need to also hang out with them. I mean, not always, like, if I want to have a girls' day, he understands I'm going to have a girls' day. But if I'm always trying to meet my friends without him, like, that's going to be a problem. So if these two people can work around those issues of control and possessiveness and, gossip, then they can have a really nice relationship. I think that they can find places to compromise. A Libra will compromise. A Scorpio, not so much. The Scorpio's fixed. So the Libra is going to have to compromise to the Scorpio. And the Libra has to get better at noticing nonverbal cues, kind of like with the Cancer. I think even a Cancer is going to be more forthcoming than a Scorpio. A Scorpio is just doesn't. It's just like, even if they want to, sometimes they just can't let that stuff come out. Let those words come out. They just are clamped down on self-protection. So, but they have this very, I think, spiritual side. The Scorpio is the scorpion and the eagle and the phoenix, and they represent all three. And, if you're dating a scorpion who is a scorpion who's going to attack you with his tail, then it's best to just leave that, because that's not healthy. But if I think that the majority of the scorpions raise up to the eagle, or they have the vision and they see things from a different perspective. And then, some of them go to the point of burning themselves up and restarting, rebirthing.
Reinventing themselves and all of that stuff. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing when a Scorpio really evolves from, like, what we were talking about, the possession and all of that stuff. And be of knowledge of themselves. Like, I've seen it. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. And they'll try to do that to the relationship. So that's not a bad thing, but it may not be pleasant while it's happening, but it can raise the relationship to high level.
Very, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, with the Sagittarius, a Libra and a Sag, yes, fire, air, it's going to be dynamic, fun. You know, Sagittarius, the adventurer, with Libra, the harmonious, chit-chatting gossiper. I think they would be really fun to hang out with, kind of like Libras and Geminis. Yeah, they can get into all kinds of fun trouble together. And again, Sagittarius comes with that little bit of luck. So, you know, they like to live on the wild side, and they tend to land on their feet. So that's really exciting. Let's see, they're air fire. It's mutable. So Sagittarius is mutable, changeable, and Libra is more dynamic, leadership oriented. So that can work. That will work. Neither of them is sticking their feet in the ground, being like, no, I'm not going to change. I'm not going to do it your way. And they're both pretty proactive. So, you know, this would be a busy couple. They'd have a lot of social stuff going on. Sagittarius needs extra freedom and independence. They, you know, the moment they sense that you're trying to pin them down, they're out of there. So Libra being like, you know, connection oriented and wants to be together and do everything together. And, you know, the Sag is like, why do you want to go? Or why are you going? You know, they kind of sometimes have a bluntness to their language.
Yeah.
You know, and the Libras, you know, my feelings are hurt. Why don't you want me to come? Now, speaking of cheaters, Sagittarius and Geminis are kind of known to their eyes can kind
of wander a little bit.
Yes. So, I never want to say a sign is a cheater, because there is no such thing. You know, you can have someone come in every sign of the zodiac. But Sagittarians are just so like freewheeling, easy-go-lucky, and I got to have some adventure in my life, that they just have more opportunities. You know, they're out there. They have to be. They need constant input. They have to. They can't experience enough. Like there's only so much time we have to live in our lives, and we want to. And a Sagittarius wants to live as much of it as they can. I heard one astrologer describe Sagittarius as someone who was born with 9 lives and then told they only had 1 life to live it. Have you ever heard that?
I have heard that before, and I can agree with that with my own life for myself on a lot of different things. So
yeah. So Sagittarius are lots of fun. And so that's why I think Libra is a really good match for them, because Libra actually can kind of keep up with them, and an air sign. So they're going to be kind of like more rational about it and be like, yeah, go do your thing. Like, yay, go. Like, I get you. And then in those situations, the Sagittarius is unlikely to want to find any other arms to fall into, because, you know, they have a partner who gets them and understands them, and everything's good. And, you know, you do things together and then you do things separate. Like, that's just the way it is. So there has to be freedom in this relationship. And I think that these two people can do it, and they can have a lot of fun. Yeah, it's a very good combination. They're off on a chatty adventure. Okay, Capricorn is next. So Libra and Capricorn. It is a challenging mix. Capricorn is earth and Libra is air. But they can be a power couple, because they are both of that cardinal, active, dynamic energy. They're both leaders. They will both take charge. They both like to be in charge. Capricorn is going to be more passive in the sense of the polarity, where Libra's active, Libra's proactive, and you know, the earth sign, the Capricorn, is just going to be more practical, step by step, build it up. And you put that with the Libra, who does like to lead and who is proactive, that if they were a couple, let's say, who owned a business together, they could get a lot done. Like, this would be, I think this is a power couple, even if they will have challenges, because they're both going to argue over who's in charge. They're going to argue over control. And Libra's not going to step down from that one, because that's going to bring in to what's fair, you know, what's equal in the couple. and that could make for some really good arguing that you can come to some sort of final agreement on. Libra will compromise. Neither of them is fixed, so neither of them is going to draw the line and be like, nope, you step over this line and it's done. They're both but they're going to be super proactive, and so it can work, but it's a challenge. I mean, it's earth air, so it's not the ideal fire air. But especially with other parts of the chart, I have no doubt that there are many Libra Capricorn couples out there who are doing very well. This kind of arguing, I know we talked about it with another combination, but it's the kind, when you have arguing, it airs the stuff that people oftentimes keep inside.
Right. And if they can come to a resolution or even agree to a disagree, I think in a healthy way. Because sometimes certain things you probably never will agree on, but if you can agree to disagree, then it's out there. I know how that person feels. They know how I feel. So I definitely agree with that. Yeah.
I think that's what would happen with them, is that, I think it was Aries. I think I said that with Aries and Libra, that no, anyway, it doesn't matter. But there's other combinations that also have this dynamic of arguing, but I always think it's better to get it out. And couples who learn how to fight and make up make really strong couples. And so this would be probably what would happen in this couple. So if you are dating someone and you argue, don't think it's a bad thing. It's a good thing. It's a good thing if you are able to conclude the argument, come to some sort of agreement, whether it's agree to disagree or some sort of compromise, and then move on and have the best, make up sex ever. That's what makes a strong couple. It's the couples who never fight are the ones who have one argument and break up because they don't know how to argue. And
right.
People don't agree on everything. That's just not human. So anyway, I had a little note that said power with the conscience, because Libra is going to bring that conscience to Capricorn, who as its own energy is about power and control. We use Capricorn to talk about the establishment, the government. The Capricorn stellium last year was the planets in combination with Capricorn. But a lot of the political unrest, you can look at Capricorn, it's those old establishments, they're getting torn down, they're getting poked into them. So 2 strong signs, definitely. Okay, moving on to Aquarius. Now we're back to Aries and easygoing and, the same element, which is, usually one of the best combinations, either the same element or air and fire together. And so we have air and air. And these 2 people will have great conversations and connect on the intellectual level. The Aquarius is different than the other air signs because the Aquarius is the fixed one. So this one is where if they have disagreements, especially in their intellectual ways, intellectual belief systems, kind of in around social justice, because Aquarians are so, a quality of them is the humanity, looking at humanity as a whole, and it's important to them. They usually are involved in causes around this. So if they're going to date a Libra, they're going to want somebody who shares their intellectual belief system. And so if that's true, then they're going to get along great and they're going to get involved in things. So where a Libra with a Gemini or another Libra are going to be more social, just social to be social, drinking or golfing or I don't know, whatever, they just want to go out and be together and have fun. But when Aquarius comes in, they're going to probably be a little more cause oriented, have a kind of something more meaty to what it is that they do with that mental energy. They don't want idle gossip. They don't want to chit chat about what color somebody's nails was who was, on YouTube the other day.
Gotcha.
It's going to get a little more serious. And Libra being so focused on harmony and justice, just equality in general, or fair is not always equal, that kind of stuff. And Libras like to fight for the underdog, and they switch positions all the time. Like as soon as somebody's who was winning is losing, then they might be like, oh, you poor thing, you're losing now, let me get on your side. Because they just don't like to see anyone. They're always trying to bring things into balance, right? And things don't stay balanced. They never stay balanced. So Libras are always trying to balance that scale. And so if you get with an Aquarius who's like got a cause to fight for, then that's probably what they're going to be doing. But even if just everyday dating, they're going to have a lot of things to talk about, and they're going to make a good couple. Air to air is going to be good. And the last sign of the zodiac is Pisces. So Libra with Pisces. Like we've talked about with Pisces, with the other signs, that Pisces has to watch their boundaries so that they don't just kind of like merge into the other person. No matter what sign they're with, that's something they have to watch out for. With Libra being an air sign, there is the potential that the Libra is going to be kind of like in their head and not notice if a Pisces is doing this. But of the three air signs, I think that Libra's probably going to be the one that notices more than the other two, more than the Libra or the Gemini. More than Aquarius or the Gemini, because they're all about balance. And so they're going to notice an imbalance maybe before the other air signs. But they may not know how to address it, because the energy is just different. It's really, really, really different. Like Libras, they understand the other person because they're about the other person. That's kind of like, the whole Aries, Libra acts as me, you, right? But they still may not get how to get to the Pisces. They can see that there's something off, but they don't know how to get there. And it's kind of like, I want to figure this out with you, but I don't know how. And so it's really going to be these two people coming together from very different places. The Pisces person being a water, so they're already coming from an emotional place. They're mutable, so they're changeable. They're like always adapting, and they're passive, so they're not really going to take action. They're not going to be the one coming and saying, we got to figure this out. They're probably more changing themselves to be in the relationship to make things good. And then you have a Libra who's trying to create harmony. So they could actually kind of pull this off for a little while, with both parties like trying to kind of like make everything harmonious. And if everything is working, then this could be like this artistic couple who's just in the clouds, just like really happy, like enjoying going to the art galleries and painting, or creating, making a house with like really pretty colors, and merging their lives together, and that could work. It's kind of like that, you're so different from me that opposites attract kind of stuff.
Yeah, I just wonder with those two, if shit hits the fan, then what? Like maybe life gets hard and the rose-colored glasses have to come off because maybe something serious happens in life. Then what would you think would happen with that couple? Do you think they could survive that with the Pisces always just is? I mean, I get the Pisces always tries to change and mutates to adapt to the environment, but if shit really hits the fan and it's something that they just can't, I just wonder, then what? Would they still be compatible?
I think that if a couple that's a Pisces and a Libra gets, the shit hits the fan, if it's the couple as a couple, then they have to, the Pisces is going to have to step up they can't just be passive and let the Libra take care of it. If they do, and it happens over and over, the Libra is going to get really tired of that and is going to probably walk away. But if something happens to one, like if it happened to the Pisces, Libra is going to like come up, step up and help them. And really, I think that is going to help the Pisces a lot because they're going to be rational and they're going to be logical, right? And then for the Libra, if it somehow happens to the Libra, the Pisces is going to bring their rose-colored glasses. They're going to be super supportive. They're going to be giving them big hugs. They're going to be like, I'm here with you. We're going to get through this. I think that, then that would be fine. The pitfall is if the Pisces always lets the Libra take care of things and is always kind of like in the background, just like, being passive and being emotional. The Libra can handle it, probably. The Libra can handle, whatever comes along. The Libra just may not want to be the one who always handles it. Even if it's a traditional, like the woman's the Pisces and then let's say the man's the Libra. I'm just going to stereotype here. And the man's totally comfortable, like always being the man, and the woman kind of doing whatever. But like 10, 15 years down the road, this man meets some other intellectual woman who really just like,
blows his mind.
Yeah. And like is responsible and does things. And he's kind of like, I'm tired of doing everything. He might leave that Pisces. For sure, if it was switched, if it was the woman who's the Libra and it's the man who's the Pisces, and he's, again, I'm being stereotypical, but leaves the woman to do everything, and every time it hits the fan, he's just like, you're good at that, you take care of it.
Yeah.
And, it's a partnership. It's a partnership. And even if it's a man, woman, same thing. Trans, just, if the Pisces person doesn't try to step up and help solve the problem, then eventually there's a big chance that the Libra person is going to get bored, or not bored. It's just going to want a partner. Libras want partners. They want somebody to come in and be the other half. And I realize we all need to be individual wholes before we come in a relationship, but a Libra usually has an expectation that a relationship is a partnership, and that both parties bring something to the partnership. And if the Pisces doesn't contribute to problem solving, then I think over time that's going to be a problem. Not one time, or there may be situations where it's like, this is something that is better if the Libra handles it, or better if the Pisces handles it. Mm-hmm. That's different. But I'm just talking about like, if every single time a problem comes up and the Pisces is like, I'm going to be passive now because that's what I do. I don't think that's going to work for the Libra.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that breakdown. Lori, I want to thank you for coming on. Please, again, tell the audience where they can find you.
Okay. LoriBarnesAstrology.com is my website. And I'm going to spell it just because it's not, who knows how to spell Lori these days? There's so many different ways.
Right.
LoriBarnes, astrology, astrology.com. And I'm on Facebook with the same name. Easy to find me there.
Okay, awesome. And all of those links will be in the show notes. Lori, I want to thank you for coming on to speak on all of the air signs and all of these signs that they're compatible with and who they're not compatible with. We'll be back next week to speak on fire signs, I believe.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning in, and until next time.
Thank you for tuning in to today's show. If you like this podcast, please download and subscribe. If there's anything you would like to talk about in regards to relationships, or would like to be a guest on the show to speak on relationships or get advice, you can always connect via social media at Playing for Keeps, or email DJ at info@p4kdating.com. Thank you for tuning in, and bye for now.